Let's go. Alright, I think my computer is froze up. I do not see things going on here. Hang on. There, we're getting going. Okay. Alright, I didn't get to schedule this ahead of time, so we're going to see if anybody joins tonight. If they get in here, we'll give everybody a few minutes while I'm getting set up. And while I'm doing that, I just want to tell everybody here, if you guys see this part here, let's get through the normal disclaimers that we do. And that is, first of all, be family friendly. That's all we ask. We don't have a topic planned out. I do my best to respond to all the chats that come in during the live broadcast itself, and try to answer all your questions or comments. You can ask me pretty much anything you guys want to ask me. But again, be family friendly. We don't want to have to kick anybody out for being rude or being hateful or any of those kinds of things. And I guess that's it. Just be nice to each other. Other than that, I don't have any other rules. That's pretty much it. If you guys want to have conversations with each other, go ahead, have conversations with each other, and you can chat with each other. That's fine too. All right. Waiting for everybody to get active here, and we'll get going with the live broadcast. Let me grab a drink while we're waiting. Testing out a new setup tonight for the live broadcast, so hopefully it's coming through pretty good. Good evening to you. Is that Cottage Rose? Good evening. Hopefully the audio is coming through well, the video is coming through well. Leave me some feedback on that. Let me know how you guys can hear me. If I'm coming through loud and clear, or if I need to adjust some audio levels or something like that. Hopefully everything's going okay. This is different than what I normally see, so it's hard for me to tell who all's in here. All right, there we got a couple of people coming in. Good evening to you, Sherry. Good to see you. Thanks for joining the live broadcast. Coming through, great. Thank you very much, Cottage Rose. I appreciate that. Usually I'm scheduling these ahead of time, so it's like scheduled. Everybody knows it's coming. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that. But tonight, for some reason, I can't figure out how to do that. We'll have to see how well it works. But anyway, we'll go from there. So good evening, Madison and Ryan. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for joining tonight. I appreciate it. Hey, I'm excited you're here too, Sherry. Thank you for joining. I should always have something planned out to talk about, because these times where there's not a lot of comments coming in, I don't have anything to say. But I'll just give you an update on how things are going right now. The meat chickens are doing great. I've got them down. They're a little over a week old. They're a little over almost 2 weeks old, right? Wait, I think they're a little over 2 weeks old, actually, now that I think about it. So they're starting to feather out. I've got them down to about 65 degrees, minimum temperature. And they're doing just fine, no problems whatsoever. Eating a lot. I'm about ready to start limiting them to 24 hours or 12 hours on, 12 hours off of food. Everything is going great with them. Hey, there's Katernik's Corner here. Terry's here from Katernik's Corner. Hello, good to see you. Thanks for joining tonight. I appreciate it. What was I going to say about that? So they'll be moving out probably next week. I'm going to give them another week in the brooder. We had a hard freeze last night. We've got down to 31 tonight, and then after that, I think we're going to have some pretty decent weather. So I think I'll be moving the chickens out to the tractor, the chicken tractor. Probably give them another week, and then I'll move them out. Good evening, Donnie. It's Donnie and Lisa Pittman. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Sage and Stone Homestead. Okay, there we go. We got a question coming in. Any advice for nest box eye and rabbit kits? We've been treating with tetramycin, I think it is, but it's expensive and doesn't happen often. I've had a couple of cases of nest box eye. One thing I found that works really well is chamomile tea. Brew a cup of chamomile tea with honey in it. Just put some honey in there, stir it around real good, and use the tea bag itself. Squeeze it out so it's not dripping wet, and just clean the eye out with that tea bag. You may have to do that a couple of times, but it's done a pretty good job of cleaning that up and curing nest box eye for me. So you might try that and see how well that works for you. I always try to use, if there is a way to do it without chemicals, I always try to do it without chemicals or pesticides or any of those kinds of things. Not that that's a pesticide, you get what I'm saying. So that's worked well for me. Just try to use raw honey. Don't use the artificial honey stuff, and you should see some good results from that, hopefully. Ryan says, Chris, I have a small question. Can a buck fall when mating and miss? I guess it's possible, but I'm not sure. I mean, if it's a young buck, probably inexperienced, first time mating, I guess that could happen. But I don't think it's I don't think it's a common thing at all. I would say if you got to fall off, you probably got successful breeding. I would kind of count on that, and I would just plan on having babies. All right, Madison says a little kit of areas is doing good. Oh, wait, the little kid of ours, I think is what that is doing good. He or she is now 20 days old. I decided to name him or her Willow if it's a girl and Sage if it's a boy. Well, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that those things are going well for you. And those are good names, so congratulations on the kit recovering there. All right, Raymond says, what breed is Max? Max is a pit bull mix, pit bull pointer mix. Whenever we got him from the shelter, and he was listed as a pointer, but he's obviously a pit mix. So I'm going to say pit pointer mix. Hey, good evening, Boris. Good to see you. And Fammy says, I have a question. Well, ask it, and I will answer when I can. Let's see. Roas says, Happy Easter, everyone. Chris, I can't get a foot wound to stop bleeding on a quail. Any suggestions? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Cornstarch makes a good clotter. You put a little bit of cornstarch on there. It can kind of help stop the bleeding if you don't have a septic pen, styptic. I can't remember what those things are called. But you know what people buy to like dab on their face when they cut themselves shave and it stops the bleeding. Those will work really well for that too, but cornstarch works in a pinch. So you might put some cornstarch on it, maybe wrap it up a little bit, and I bet that quits the bleeding. That's my best suggestion. I'm not sure what happened to it. Once you do get the bleeding stopped, you're probably going to want to clean that out pretty well. You can use an antibiotic ointment on it, like a Neosporin or something like that, but don't use one that has pain reliever in it. Pain reliever is usually toxic to birds. Let me do something here real quick. Change the focal point on the camera there, maybe. I couldn't tell if I was out of focus or not. All right. Christy says, hey, Chris, does shade affect the light hours being needed for egg laying? No, shades actually. I think you may have been the one. I saw the comment come through, but I haven't been in to answer comments today. So I planned on getting it, but somebody did leave a comment on one of the videos asking if they needed direct light or they needed shade. I'm not sure if that was you, Christy, or not, but if it was, no, shade's fine. They need light in order to be able to lay. 14 hours a day of light, but you don't want them in direct sunlight. You want them in the shade's probably better to keep them in there. You don't want them, if you do have direct sunlight on them, you want to wait for them to get out of the direct sunlight. So no, it doesn't matter if they're in the shade or not. I try to keep mine in the shade all the time. Never really have direct sunlight just beating down on them. It doesn't matter. They're fine with that. All right, Sherry says, have a question about your incubator. What brand do you use, and do you use an egg turner? Seems like you take a laid-back approach. Yeah, I'm pretty laid-back in general, pretty mellow. The incubator I use is a Little Giant. If I was going to buy a new one, I would probably buy a Hoverbaiter. I hear really good things about the Hoverbaiter. I can't ever remember what model it is. I think it's 1630, whatever. But yes, I use an egg turner. I'm looking up at my incubator. It's up there on the shelf. But yes, I use an egg turner with mine as well. You don't have to. It's easy enough to just open it up once a day and roll the eggs around a little bit. Once or twice a day, that's fine. But the egg turner does make it a little bit more convenient, and it wasn't that expensive. So I do use an egg turner. What else with mine? It's a forced air kit. I would suggest if you're going to get an incubator, whatever kind you get a forced air one. They do have a tendency to hold the temperature a little bit better. Excuse me. All right, how you got? Are we doing okay with the feed, or is it a little laggy? It says my bit rate is low. I've got to see if I can figure out how to fix that. Give me a second, guys. I don't know. I'm not sure how to fix that. Well, hopefully it just goes away and fixes it. I've got to call my internet company. I'm having just nothing but problems, it seems like, with my internet lately. Hopefully you guys are still doing well and hanging with me here. Okay, where are we going from here? Donnie And Lisa said, Chris, do you keep anything care related on hand for quail injuries from fighting, for example? Not really. Not anything more than just like what you would keep on hand normally. I very seldom have to treat my birds. If there's anything if it gets bad enough, I usually just call the bird. But they will recover from almost any injury. They're incredibly hardy little birds. They can get beat up pretty badly and recover just fine with no treatment or anything. So the most I usually have to do is maybe clean it out a little bit, and that's usually just a little bit of water. So I don't really find that I need to keep anything on hand. And again, I said that if you've got one that's bleeding really bad and you can't stop the bleeding, cornstarch does a pretty good job with that, and I've always got cornstarch on hand. So there's not a whole lot that you really need to keep on hand for that, in my opinion. I mean, you could do it for sure, but I just don't find it necessary. Lamongi says, hello, friend. Hello to you. Says, I got a rabbit this week called English Spot. I don't know if they provide good meat. Do you have any info on those? Okay, I'm somewhat familiar with English Spot rabbits. Not incredibly familiar with them, though. I've never actually handled them myself, but from my recollection, they get to be a pretty good sized rabbit. I think they've probably got a decent meat ratio as well. I don't see why they wouldn't make a decent meat rabbit. The issue you might have with them is how big their litters are. I don't know how big of a litter that they'll produce, but I think that they'll do just fine. So yeah, I'd try it. Go for it. There's no reason not to. All right, Sage and Stone says, what's the most frequent you would breed rabbits if their health and body condition is kept optimal? Good question. Excuse me. I feel like I'm yelling tonight, and it's drying me out here. I don't really like to do intensive breeding with my rabbits. I like to give them a little bit of a break. So I personally wouldn't breed them. Well, here's my schedule that I would breed them on. If you want to do the most intensive that I would breed, I would wait till her current kits are about 4 weeks old, and then I'd go ahead and breed her. Because then at 6 weeks old, I can move them off, and that's another 2 weeks after she's been bred. I can move them off, wean them, move them into a grow out pen. She can have a 2-week break without any kits, and then have more babies at that point. And I would keep that up maybe, but I like to give them a break during the heat of summer, so then I'd give them 3 weeks or 3 months off during the summertime, pick it back up in the fall, and you could do that all fall, all winter, all the way through spring. So when I say I give them a break in the summer, usually around May. I try not to breed after May. Around here it starts getting pretty hot around May. So I try not to breed in May, June, or July. Sometimes I won't breed in August either, but usually that's about the time. August to September is whenever I start picking back up. So hopefully that helps. That gives you the answer you're looking for. You can go more intense than that if you want to. You could rebreed her at 2 weeks after her babies are born. That puts her having babies right about the time her current kits are 6 weeks old and ready to wean off and move to a grow out pen. But to me, that's just a little too intensive. I like to give her a little bit of a break between litters. All right, Madison says, my other doe is also pregnant, and she is going to be a first-time mom, so I'm a little nervous. Yeah, it's always a little nerve-wracking with first-time moms. But, don't worry about it. Chances are she'll do great. Just watch her when she gets ready to have her babies. Mark on the calendar, 30 days. Watch for her to start hay stashing. When she starts hay stashing, she's getting ready to have her babies. And just make sure she has them in the nest box. If she doesn't have them in the nest box, pick them up off the cage floor, put them in the nest box as soon as you can. That's really the biggest thing to watch for with new mothers. Usually they do just fine with taking care of them. They're just not sure, about the nest box and all those kinds of things yet. And if you can get them off the cage floor quickly, then you have less of a chance of losing them. Get them in the nest box, and then she'll just pick it up from there and take care of them. So hopefully it all goes well, though. Good luck with it. All right, Fan says, why is my baby rabbit scratching a lot? Boy, that's a hard one to answer. I mean, there could be numerous reasons. If you say he's scratching, I'm guessing he's kicking his feet up, scratching, or something like that. If he's scratching his ears a lot, you might check for ear mites. That would be look inside his ears and see if there's any kind of scabbing or any of those kinds of things. If there is, it's easy to treat. A couple of drops of olive oil or any kind of food-grade oil. You can use corn oil, you can use mineral oil, you can use coconut oil. I mean, any kind of food-grade oil is fine. Just put a drop or two in each ear. Don't scrape the scabs out or try to do anything like that. Just put a drop or two of oil in his ear once a day until the scabs are gone, and then once every other day for another week. If it's not his ear that he's scratching somewhere else, then I would look for signs of fleas or fur mites. Um, if it is, it's going to be difficult to get rid of him if he's really young. You said baby rabbit. I'd give him a little bit of time, wait till he gets to be at least 6 to 8 weeks old, somewhere around in there, and then you could treat with like a revolution or something like that, like what you would use on cats. Um, just make sure you use the right amount for the weight. They usually have a weight measurement on them, and you can use the one for cats. It will do okay with treating things like fleas and mites and those kinds of things. But who knows? It may not be anything like that. Just look for signs of fleas or mites. What you're looking for is excessive dander in his fur, and, irritation on the skin. So if you can part the fur and look at the skin, does it look red and irritated? Fleas, you should be able to see the fleas running around. If it's mites, you're not going to be able to see the mites. But if he starts developing bald patches or losing hair, those kinds of things, then that's a pretty good sign that he may have mites. So that's something to look for there as well. All right, hopefully that helps. And I wouldn't do anything really. I mean, I don't know how much he's scratching, but I wouldn't do anything for just give him a little bit of time, see if he just gets over it. Sometimes they just do weird things for no reason. All right, Marius says hello from South Africa. Hello to you, Marius. Thanks for joining tonight. Christy says thank you, and yes, that was my comment on the video. Okay. I'll probably go ahead and respond to that eventually anyway. So when I do, you'll know that, or I'll probably forget, and who knows, maybe I'll remember, but you'll probably see a response to the comment. All right, Raymond Exotic says, if one of the quail or rabbit got out, would Max eat it? Eventually, he's kind of weird. He's not super aggressive. Now, probably with the rabbits he would, because they run, and he would probably end up killing one of them. He's not likely to eat them. He doesn't have much interest in things once they stop running. He likes to chase. That's his favorite thing. So he killed a skunk one time. That was pleasant. It was like, I did a video on it at the time, but yeah, it was early morning, like 6:30 in the morning, and I got up and I let him out, and I see him tear off across the yard after something, and he grabbed it and threw it up in the air, and I mean, it flew 15 feet in the air and hit the ground, and he was heading for it, and I had a flashlight, and I shined it, and before I could stop him, I realized, that's a skunk. It was too late. It was already dead anyway. But yeah, I had to go get skunk shampoo and gave him a bath at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was terrible. Killed an armadillo one time, same kind of thing. Just tore out, grabbed it, and shook it, and killed it. I think that may be everything that he's killed. But yeah, the interesting thing is when the quail get out, I mean, he just loves the birds. Like I said, I think he's part pointer. So it's natural. He's, that's what he is. So when the birds get out, he chases them down and he'll catch them, but he doesn't kill them. Not right away anyway. I'm sure he would over time, just if nothing else, the stress of them being held to the ground in a dog's mouth. But he doesn't kill them. He just kind of pins them down, and I come over and I'll pick them up and put them back in the pen, and they're fine. He hasn't actually ever killed one of the birds. I'm sure he would kill the rabbits, though. He would just, if nothing else, he would chase them until they died. But yeah, that's just too much excitement for him. It's hard for him to hold back from that. All right, Charles says, hey, Chris, finally got my garlic in my garden to grow. Awesome. I don't really have problems with garlic. I find garlic super easy to grow. But the key, it takes forever for it to grow and to get to actual harvest. So, I usually plant that in the fall, like September, towards the middle end of September. And the idea is just to get it to root out enough before the frost hits, and then I let it go, and I'll harvest it in probably late July, August, somewhere right around in there. But hey, congratulations on getting it to grow. Ryan says, Chris, my rabbit was bred by his brother probably her brother, from the same litter. Will the kits die? Probably not. You really want to try to avoid breeding brother and sister together. It's very close to the gene pool. You may end up with some issues with, a few of the babies dying. You may end up with some issues, health issues down the road from them. There's a lot of different things that could happen, but they're probably not going to die. You're probably going to be okay with that. I would not keep any of those and make them future breeders, though. So hopefully it all goes well. All right. Sherry says, I don't think you can fix it without getting a faster internet speed. Yeah, I've been having problems with my internet. I'm on cable internet. Don't have a lot of choices around here. And I pay for a pretty fast internet connection, but I don't get anywhere near that. I need to call the company and complain. It's getting to a point where it's pretty ridiculous, where I can't. Sometimes I can't even, like, if I'm on my phone and I pull up something, it just won't, like, it won't even load the email until I disconnect from my Wi-Fi and get just regular, the cellular connection itself. It's getting bad. So I'm gonna have to call them and complain. But hey, Jennifer P, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Raymond says, hey Chris, okay, oh finally. I was waiting for an hour thinking you're not going to make it today. Hope everyone's going well and great to see you again. Thank you very much, Raymond. I do this pretty much every Thursday. Not every. I didn't make it last week. Just nothing serious. Just some little minor family things going on that needed my attention more than I needed to be in here on the live broadcast. And everything's fine. But usually I'm here 7 o'clock Central on Thursday evenings. So you can kind of set your time to that. I tried to, like I said, I've got a little bit of a new streaming setup here, using some things a little bit differently, testing it out tonight, and it doesn't give me the option to schedule the video. So usually I'll schedule the video, and you guys can see that. It's, to pop up with the thumbnail and say, video scheduled for 7 o'clock p.m., but I couldn't figure out how to get it to do that with this, so I'll have to look into that and see what I can figure out later. Anyway, Jennifer P says that's the way I handle rabbit breeding too. I've already forgotten what. I think maybe we're talking about intensive rabbit breeding. So maybe that's it. I always have a hard time when there's a little bit of a delay from when I say something to when you guys hear it. So by the time you've left a comment, I've responded to it, and you've heard it, and then multiple comments have come in between there, and then you've commented. I get lost in that conversation sometimes, so forgive me if I do, but I think that's what you were talking about. Yeah, that's about as intensive as I want to go with that. Sage and Stone says, perfect, we rebreed when the kits are 6 weeks old, and I was hoping that wasn't too frequent. We keep having large litters, so far so good. No, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Val says, what happened to the other stream today? Oh, that was my mistake. I was testing out to make sure audio and everything was going to work, and I forgot to set it as unlisted, so it popped up as, like I was going live at the time. I didn't realize it, so I went ahead and deleted that because it was just me goofing off, like, wait, do I have video? Do I have audio? All that. All right, King Polo says, does critical care work with rabbit? Does critical care work with rabbit? I'm not sure what you're asking me there exactly. Does critical care work with rabbit? I'm sorry, I don't know right offhand what you're asking. You're going to have to ask me in a different way. Sometimes I'm a little dense. I apologize. All right. Val says, congrats on almost 70,000 subs. I remember when you only had 6,000. Wow, you've been with me a long time then. But yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I am up to almost 70,000 subscribers, which is great. But it's not about the subscribers. It's just about, like, I do this because I like to help people out. I like to teach. So you can tell almost all my videos are teaching videos, which is probably why I don't get anywhere near 70,000 views on every video, or any of my videos for that matter. But still, it's something I enjoy doing, whether it's 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 70,000. It doesn't matter. All right, Madison says she's supposed to give birth on April 10th. What are we talking about, Madison? I've forgotten already. I'm looking to see which one. There we go. Your other doe is also pregnant. Okay, got it. The first time mom's due to give birth on April 10th. Well, that's coming up pretty quick. So good luck. I hope it goes well. All right. Is it Raymond, I'm going to say. Oh, wait. You're telling me about the pronunciation of my name on your last live. It's not Raymond. It's Ramen. Thank you. I was just confused on that. I'm so bad with names and pronunciations. Forgive me. I guess that's the redneck in me coming out. All right, Danny says, just wanted to say thank you for all the great information on rabbits. I have my first litter due the second week of April. Awesome. Congratulations on, wait, your first litter. First litter, okay. Good luck with your first litter. I hope it all goes well. Thank you for watching the videos, and I'm very glad to hear that you're finding them helpful. All right, Mike says, hey, Chris, hope everyone is having a good night. I made the mistake of planting a black bush in a small yard. It's taking over and I can't seem to kill it. Would it work if I cut it and sprayed Roundup in it? A black bush? I'm not sure what a black bush is. Is it blackberry? Is that what you're talking about? Okay, there's further comment. Yeah, I meant blackberry bush. Thanks for the great info. Hope you're all well. By Mike. Yeah, blackberry. Once you get in there, boy, it is hard to get rid of. That's for sure. What I think you should probably the best way to do that. Yeah, you could kill it with Roundup if you wanted to do that. That's going to work, and that's fine. If it should work anyway. You may have to go back and spray again later, like a couple of months later. What you really probably should do is dig it up, get all the roots that you can out of the ground. That would take care of it as well. But yeah, if you want to go the easy route, yeah, I'm sure Roundup would work just fine. The other option is just mow it. I don't know if it's in an area where you can mow, but if you can cut it off down close to the ground, then every time you mow, you're just going to keep it mowed and keep it cut back. But all right, Ramen says, and one more thing. I'm going to breed my rabbits one more time before the summer in 2 weeks. Do you think it's good timing? Well, I don't know what your summers are. I don't know where you're located. So, yeah, it's probably fine. There are plenty of people that actually breed through the summer. To me, it's just, I can tell the rabbits are miserable in the heat of summer, and I just don't like to have them pregnant and taking care of babies and all those kinds of things during the heat of summer. But, if you're going to... if your summer, like here, our summer, I mean, we're in spring right now. Our summer really doesn't hit till like the middle of May. So I could easily breed my rabbit again and get another, and have them born before that middle of May time frame hits and be just fine. So if it's the same thing for you, then yeah, it's good timing. There's no reason not to do it. The only reason I'm not breeding my rabbit again is I'm actually considering getting rid of these rabbits, looking for some new breeders. She had a very small litter, only 3 babies the last time, so I think she's about ready to age out anyway. And her litters grow out so slow. I mean, they're almost 12 weeks old, and they're not quite sized to process yet. So I'm really looking for some new blood in rabbits. All right. Excuse me. All right. Big D Mike says, "Hey, howdy, folks. Good to see you, Mike. Thanks for joining. Is it Hung or Ung? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name either. I'm sorry." Says, I have a New Zealand doe who gave birth in a few days. Wait, let me read that again. I have a doe, New Zealand, due to give birth in a few days. Last time she was a first-time mom and did not feed her babies, and they all died. Hoping she feeds them this time around. Yeah, that's actually pretty rare, even with first-time moms, to just not feed the babies. Are you sure she didn't feed them? Are you sure it wasn't exposure? If she didn't pull fur, if she didn't cover them up, and they're just out exposed, like on the cage floor or whatever, that's probably what happened to them. It's really rare for them not to feed their babies. If it happens again, I would definitely look at getting rid of her, looking for a new rabbit. But good luck with that. I hope it works out well, and I hope you don't have to worry about that. All right, Sillamore says, give Chris a thumbs up, folks. Well, thank you very much for the kind comments there. I appreciate that. Trevor said, what age should you feed your baby rabbits greens? Conflicting information out there. What is your take on this? Good question, Trevor. Okay, a couple of things about this. First of all, if greens are not part of the mom's diet, then you really want to introduce them very slowly to, in fact, any rabbit. It doesn't matter if it's a baby rabbit or a full-grown adult rabbit. If they've been on a full pellet diet their entire life, you don't want to just switch them over and give them a handful of greens. You want to introduce that stuff slowly. Rabbits don't take well to extreme changes in their diets, especially young rabbits, especially when they're getting ready to wean. If they have extreme changes in their diet at that point, it can lead to like weaning enteritis. I mean, all kinds of little problems with that. So take it slowly if they haven't been introduced to greens at all. Now, if you're feeding the mother greens, you shouldn't have to worry about introducing them. They're just going to start eating some of the mother's food whenever it's available. And it's no issue. They're going to be just fine. You don't have to worry about that at all. If they are baby rabbits that have never been introduced to greens, then I would wait till they're weaned at least 6 weeks old, wean them off, and then again, introduce them very slowly. Just give them a little bit at a time for a couple of days and gradually increase the amount that you're giving them. Because like I said, you don't want them to be sick, and that's an easy way to make them sick. Hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, Bill says, do you have any good resources to explain the difference between jumbo farrow and jumbo meat makers? Honestly, I don't. That may be a question for my shire. I know, I've forgotten his name all of a sudden. Oh, don't tell him I forgot his name. I can't. I'm so bad with names. I forget everybody's names. I probably forget my own. But anyway, my Shire Farm. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, my Shire Farm does a lot with genetics, so he may be able to answer that question a little bit better than I could, or even Terry. Terry's here from Coturnic's Corner. He might have some information on that. But between you and me, I can't tell the difference. They look exactly the same to me. I get the same amount of eggs out of each one. The eggs seem to be about the same size. I can't tell a difference. They seem to be the exact same bird, so I don't know that there is any difference really. Big Mike says, "What's the chance my bob white quail will go broody?" Well, I don't know. I'm not a bob white expert, but I would say the chances are pretty slim if you've got it in a cage. They probably need a big open area in order to feel comfortable enough to go broody, but who knows? I may be wrong. Let's see, Pax says, "Hey Chris, butchered my first couple of birds today. Your video was a great help. Thanks." Well, awesome. I'm glad to hear that, and well done. The first time is always the most nerve-wracking, but it's really not that hard. If you just jump in and do it, you can get it done pretty easily. All right. Nadia says, "What do I feed my baby rabbits?" Rabbit pellets. That's my top suggestions. Now, I'm assuming when you say your baby rabbits, you've probably got them with the mother still. They'll just start eating some of her food whenever they're ready. Usually by about 10 days, they're jumping out of the nest box, and somewhere around 15, 16 days old, somewhere around in there, they'll start nibbling at the mother's food, and then they'll just start eating it when they're ready. You don't have to do anything special. Nothing like that. But I just feed my rabbits primarily rabbit pellets and Timothy hay. That's it. So I don't know if you're looking for something more than that, but I don't see any reason why shouldn't have to make it any more complicated. Amy says, "Just discovered I have a possum living under my mobile home. Are they going to eat my garden, tomatoes, onions, ground cherries?" No, they shouldn't. Possums are primarily carnivores. They are kind of scavengers. But they don't usually become a problem for a garden. You might want to watch, like if you have your rabbits. I don't know if you have rabbits or quail, but I'm assuming you do. Most people on the channel do, but if you don't, you don't have to worry about it. But you might watch your rabbits and quail. These can be something that are on the table for possums, especially young ones, young rabbits, and your younger quail. As long as you've got fairly secure cages, possums usually aren't a problem. They're not like raccoons where they have little hands they can reach through the cages and grab things, and they're not nearly as persistent as those things are. I've had possums around my quail hutches, but I've never seen one even try to get in, like actually make much of an effort. All right, excuse me. Bobby Warren says, "Hello, glad to see you're doing well." Well, thank you. I'm glad to see you're here, and hopefully you're doing well as well. Mike, let's see, I put my lights on my 9 hens a few weeks ago. They just started laying a few days ago, and we're at 5 eggs a day and counting. Perfect for my wife, 2 children, and myself. Awesome. Yeah, it takes usually 2 weeks or so for them to really start picking up the egg laying. I don't know exactly how many. Oh, you've got 9 hens. You're getting 5 eggs a day right now. You give them just a couple more days, and you'll probably start getting 9 eggs a day pretty consistently out of them. Usually seems like it takes them about a week or two of the light to really start to lay, and then another week or 2 after that before they really start laying real consistently. All right, Jill says, "I heard a lot of people use critical care with their rabbits. I've never used it. I don't know what critical care is. What is that? Let me look that up real quick. Is that a product of some kind? Is that what? I don't know what you mean. Critical care. Oh, okay. It's a animal health. I don't know. I still don't know exactly what it is. Some kind of. Yeah, I don't. Is it like a food supplement? It's a powder-based rabbit food formula used to give rabbits enough calories and water as they recover from illness. Okay. So, yeah, it looks like it's something for illness. I guess you could use it. I don't know. I've never heard of it before, so I can't really give you an opinion on it. But it looks like it's just something that's going to be used for, like, if your rabbits are recovering from sickness, illness, something like that. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. Maria says, "Did you watch the live show on Coturnic's Corner with Bullion's quail farming from South Africa?" I didn't. I saw that come up in the replay. And I meant to watch it. I just haven't watched that. I think that would be an interesting one. Hopefully it was. So Terry, if you're watching, I'm sorry I didn't go in to see your live broadcast. I probably should make more of an effort to join your live broadcast because you join mine a lot of the times. But I need to get in there and check that out. Val says 47 views and only 33 likes. Something's not adding up. Thank you. Mike B says, my kids, 9 and 11, take care of the hutch. I just check on it once a week. It's perfect for our small yard. How small? If I threw a baseball, it would hit 5 houses over. It would lay in 5 houses over. God bless you all, Big Mike. Well, thanks, Mike. Yeah, that's a pretty small backyard, but hey, it's working. The quail are happy there. That's why quail are great. If you live in town especially, it's a great alternative to chickens. They're not nearly as noisy. People don't even notice them. And you can get eggs out of them. Plus, the good thing is you can have roosters, so you can incubate the eggs and have meat production in a very small space. And again, nobody even really realizes it's going on. All right, Michael says, how long do you wait to rebreed? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Are you talking about like after a failed? Well, either way, let's assume a failed litter. So if you have a failed litter of rabbits, like the mother, all the babies die or something like that, I'd give her about 2 weeks and then I'd rebreed her at that point. Same thing after like a false pregnancy. You gave her 30. If you gave her 30 days and she hasn't had her babies yet, give her a couple more. Sometimes rabbits are a little slow and it takes them 35 or 36 days. But if you guaranteed she's not going to have babies, she wasn't pregnant after all, just go right around and go ahead and rebreed her right at that point there. If you had a successful litter, we kind of addressed this a little bit earlier, but you may not have been here at the time. So if you had a successful litter, I'd wait till the babies are at least 4 weeks old before I'd breed her again. Then in 2 weeks, when they're 6 weeks old, you can wean them off, move them to a grow-out pen. She'll have about 2 weeks on her own without babies before she gives birth to another litter. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right. J.A. Rochester, thanks for the videos, Chris. Your Improve Your Hatch Rate series has really helped me with my quail. I've got some hatching right now. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, hatching quail is really not that hard, but there are a few things that you can do to really make it better. And that actually applies to quail or chickens or ducks, anything. I mean, it all works pretty much the same way, just different time frames. That's about it. So, and I do hear duck eggs require a little bit higher humidity, but I haven't actually hatched them out myself, so I can't say on that. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's helping you out. Thanks for watching them, and good luck with your hatch that's going on right now. Sherry says, wow, you're doing so great with all these questions. Thank you for all that you do to teach us. Well, thank you for the kind comments. I appreciate that. John says, this is what people's lives have come to. Rabbits banging. Okay, I'm not sure what we're talking about, John, but King Polo says, my rabbit died yesterday because it wasn't eating or drinking water and not pooping. It was looking around. I was looking around for medicine, and critical care popped up. It's a type of powder that you mix with water. Yeah, I kind of gathered that. I think, yeah, it sounds like it sounds like gas probably is what happens. Some kind of blockage or something like that. If your rabbits do have those kinds of issues, and they probably won't eat or drink if they're having that problem, you can use like baby gas drops, like what you would treat a baby with, like a human baby, for gas. You can use that for your rabbits, and that can kind of help a little bit with that. Critical care looks more like one of those things that you would be treating a rabbit or giving to a rabbit after they've gotten over their illness and they're recovering from it, like they're low weight and they're recovering from an illness or something like that. That seems like that's what that's for. I don't know that it would have helped your situation, especially if the rabbit's not eating or drinking. That would be how they would get that in their system anyway. So I'm sorry to hear that. It's always unfortunate when things like that happen. All right, John says, excuse me. John says, have you ever heard of a new mom doe crush a baby in the nest box after 2 weeks old? Mine had 4, and one day one of them was dead in the nest box, likely crushed. Thought it was weird that late. Okay. Excuse me. It is a little bit weird that late. Usually, those things happen from time to time, especially new moms. A lot of the times, most of the time, it's completely accidental. They're just getting in there, moving around, and they're just stepping on them, not realizing they're doing it. But at 2 weeks old, that does seem a little bit odd. I don't know that I would jump right to that the baby was crushed. It very well could have been. But there could have been all kinds of different things going on with that. Hang on, let me make sure that's not important. Okay, no, it's not important right now. Well, not super urgent. Important, not super urgent. Um, so yeah, I mean, there could be a number of different things that happen there, and sometimes baby rabbits just die for whatever reason. We never know exactly why it was, but good luck. Hopefully, you don't lose any more. If you do start losing other ones, I would start being worried about some kind of disease or something like that that's causing it. Val says, everyone leave a like. Thank you, Val. I appreciate that. King Polo says, or what would you recommend for a sick rabbit? It depends on what the issue is with the rabbit and what they're sick from. Again, that sounds like some kind of bloat, some kind of problem with the digestive tract. And again, you can use gas drops that you use on babies. You can use that for your rabbit. That can kind of help with that. That's really my best suggestion on that. I don't know of anything else that would make it real easy, but hopefully you don't have to deal with that again. All right. Zach is the yes, thank you. Zach is the guy from My Shire Farm. I don't tell him I forgot his name. Hurt it. Not that you guys talk to him all the time anyway, but yeah, that'll hurt his feelings probably. We've actually talked a few times about trying to work out some kind of collaboration video. We just haven't ever really connected on it. All right, Michael says rebreed. Rebreed was the question. I switched from pellets to grains, hay, and alfalfa this month. I don't like not knowing the ingredients. Well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, reread. I switched from pellets. Did I miss that earlier, Michael? I'm sorry if I did. I switched from pellets to grains, hay, and alfalfa this month. I don't like knowing what in the... Okay. Yeah, I don't blame you. That's perfectly fine if you want to do that. But again, when you're switching diets with your rabbits, you do want to make that transition fairly slowly. You don't want to do it all at once. Maybe you've already done it and you didn't have any problems, and that's fantastic. If you're feeding grains, hay, and alfalfa, that's primarily what pellets are made of anyway, so it's really not that big of a difference from feeding them pellets. Hopefully it's going well. Danny says, for my rabbit litter that is due in a few weeks, should I still use cardboard in the wire nest box? I'm in northern Arkansas. Yeah, I still would. I still use cardboard pretty much all year long, if I no matter when I'm breeding. So, in northern Arkansas, you're probably not that far from me, so your climate's probably not that different than mine. It was 29 degrees last night. I mean, we had a hard freeze, and it's 31 degrees tonight. So, in 2 weeks, it's still going to be pretty chilly at night, probably in the 40s. I would still make sure you use cardboard. All right. Mike says, hello, Terry. Love your videos. Seth says, I like Terry's videos too. Terry's a good guy. I'm going to be actually live on, what is it? I think the 13th or 16th, maybe. I think it's the 16th, actually. I'm going to be on Katernik's Corner live with Terry. All right, Seth says, incubating my quail eggs for the first time. Your videos were invaluable. Thanks for all your videos. Well, thank you, Seth. Big Mike says, thanks, Chris. Your input is a help. Well, thank you. Excuse me. Raymond, Exotic Pets. Is it safe to breed two rabbits from the same litter? You mean, like, they're the same litter, you want to breed them together? Don't do that. It's a bad idea. That's way too close to genetic pool, and you can really end up with some problems with health and deformities, and probably not huge deformities. Not like, you're not going to get like six-legged rabbits or something like that, but you could easily get deformities out of that. It's just not a good idea. Don't do it. John says, don't breed brother and sister from the same litter, but anything else is fair game with rabbits. Yeah, I mean, don't breed brother and sister from different litters either. Half brother and half sister, that's even still a little close to me. Now, you can breed a daughter back to a father or a son back to a mother, and there's actually some good reasons you might want to do that. It's called line breeding. It's a pretty common trait, and it can actually, if you've got some really good, did I say it's a pretty common trait? It's a pretty common practice. If you have some good traits in your rabbits that you want to accentuate, then doing that can help accentuate that. It could also help accentuate bad traits too, though, so you got to be a little bit careful with that, but it works. All right, Mike B says, just out of curiosity, if you wrapped a hutch in white Christmas lights, would that be enough light to help keep them laying? Yeah, it should be. I know plenty of people use Christmas lights in their quail hutches to keep their birds from laying, or keep their birds laying consistently. I don't know I mean, I guess it kind of depends on how bright your Christmas lights are and how many of them you have, but as long as you can read by the light, if you can, put the light down at the floor level where the birds are, or not put the light, take a book, put it down to the floor level where the birds are and read by that light, it's plenty bright enough, it'll keep them laying. All right, Hung says the babies were in their nesting box. She did pull fur, but not until the day after she gave birth. However, she did not pull much fur at all, and her nipples might not be exposed for the babies to nurse. Maybe, that could be. You may be right. Maybe it is just a case where she just didn't feed them, didn't take care of them. That's unfortunate, but, don't give up on her. It's probably just due to her being a first-time mom. Chances are she's going to do much better on this one. All right, R. Zales, I think it is, says, could you explain the process of line breeding rabbits to produce the best meat rabbits? I live in a country where I cannot find certain breeds or pedigree, only what is sold in the live market. So, excuse me, I think I pretty much just went through that inadvertently. Line breeding is the practice of breeding back, a mother to a son or a father to a daughter. Pick out your rabbits that have the best traits. If you've got a really good buck and he's just fantastic, maybe your doe's a little subpar, you might take a daughter from that litter, breed her back to the buck to try to accentuate those good traits that are in the buck. And you can do that for several generations down. So just, the key to line breeding is culling hard. So what that means is that, you don't just accept what you get from that litter. You really are, you've got to be pinpointed in on, this is what I'm looking for in my rabbit. I want them to be, this certain body structure or, the fast growth rate or whatever. And if you're not getting that, then you eliminate that rabbit and you try another one. Or, you try another litter with that same rabbit to see what those babies are. And just don't keep every rabbit. You really cull hard, only keep the best of the best. That's the key to line breeding. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's a little bit of a complex topic, but I think you can kind of break it down that way. All right, how are we doing on time here? About 12 minutes left or so. Katrina says, I'm super late. Glad to make it. I'm glad you made it too. Thanks for joining. Okay, Hung says, thank you for all your videos. I find them really informative and educational. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, I'm going through a couple of comments here. Okay, there we go. Gingerbeard says, good evening, Chris. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods and the family is well. Everybody's doing great. Thank you very much. John says, you breed does back to the sire after picking the best doe from each litter for 7 generations. That's the general idea. There's a good explanation, too. The best doe from each litter, and you can do it for up to 7 generations. You could probably go a little bit further than that, but that's good advice on when you might want to start bringing in some new blood, is after 7 generations. All right, Katrina says, my quail are doing well in the aviary. We made a dust bath box for them. But that's a tongue twister. Says, but they haven't found it yet. Perhaps the sides are too big. They do like the natural dust bath on the ground instead. It could be. Excuse me. If the sides are too high and they've got access to dust on the ground, there's no reason for them to go into the sandbox or anything, or dust bath box, whatever you're using in there. Chances are they will figure it out pretty quick or on their own eventually. All right, Forrest says, all my quail stopped laying. Could it be because they're in molt? If so, how long do they start laying again? It could be. You should notice if they're in molt. What you're going to be looking for is them losing a bunch of feathers, especially on their chest and on their back. That's where you're going to see it. Not the back of their head, their back. That's where you're probably going to see the feathers lost the most. If that's happening, yeah, it's probably a molt. And depending on the protein level in your feed, if you've got a high protein feed, something over 25%, 25% or over, then it should only last about a week and a half to 2 weeks, and they'll be regrown and start laying eggs again. If you've got a lower protein feed, it may take a couple of days more, a little bit more. It takes a lot of protein to grow feathers. So that'd be something, if they are molting, make sure that you don't see them, like, a sign that you may have too low a protein would be if you see them picking feathers off other birds. That's usually if they have really low protein, especially after a molt, and they're trying to regrow feathers, and they need that higher protein, they're going to look for it wherever they can get it. So picking feathers or increased aggression or any of those kinds of things, you may need to increase your protein levels in your feed if it's not already like 25% or higher. All right, Preacher Boy says, I have had possums to eat tomatoes that is ripe. Interesting. I've never had a problem with a possum in the garden. They've never come after any of my produce, but I guess I could be wrong. Maybe it does happen. Bob says, hey Chris, is there a central place online to find other local people with quail to exchange or sell birds and fertile eggs to each other? Good question, Bob. That's a tough one. I don't know of any place. It's hard to find a lot of local people in a global place. Like, Facebook makes it's against their policies to sell live birds or to sell eggs, so that's tricky. I've had good luck with Craigslist listing eggs or birds on Craigslist for sale, and that's worked out pretty well. And I've seen plenty of other people on Craigslist offering birds. Might look for a poultry swap in your area. We have a couple of them that go on around here, and poultry swaps tend to draw the same people in over and over again. So you make friends with somebody that goes to one of the poultry swaps, you can pretty much guarantee they're going to be at the next poultry swap, and that can kind of be a meeting place to get together with them as well. You might be able to make a few connections there, and just work out something where you guys meet up at other times too. There's just a couple of ideas. Katrina says, was a whopping 88 degrees today. Gave my rabbit lots of water and some frozen strawberries, not too much. They looked hot and panting. Besides the water and frozen bottles, any tips getting a solar fan soon? Yeah, I don't know where you're at, what your climate's like. So I found that mine didn't use frozen water bottles, so I don't even mess with it anymore. Yeah, you can definitely, 2-liter bottles, fill them with water, stick them in the freezer and freeze them, put them in there. The thought is the rabbits will lay against them and get cool. Mine didn't. They just didn't seem to care. What else was I going to say about that? Okay, first things first, make sure they're in the shade, and not just the shade of the hutch roof itself. Put the whole hutch in the shade. That makes a big difference, whether it's a big tree, like I've got mine on the north side of my house, so the sun never directly hits the hutch. That makes a big difference, and that helps a lot. If you're in a dry climate, an arid climate, like a desert, like Arizona, something like that, which at 88 degrees you might be, I don't know, then you can look for like swamp coolers or misters. You don't want to mist the rabbits themselves, but mist like their hutch, and that evaporation will bring it down another couple of degrees in there. So those are about the only, solar fan's a good idea as well. Those are about the only tips I have for it. Keep them in the shade. Don't mess with them too much during the day. Don't get them all worked up when it's hot out. Those are the best things I got. All right, Jill says, regarding the critical care, yes, it's designed to feed the rabbits when they are down or sick. Okay, there you go. Judy says, sorry I was late in the garden on this beautiful day in Abilene, Texas. Hey, I don't blame you. If it was beautiful out, I would have been in the garden a little bit too. It wasn't bad. Actually, it wasn't a bad day. It was pretty nice. It was sunny. There wasn't a lot of wind. It only got up to about 50, 55 degrees maybe. But it wasn't bad. It just got chilly last night. All right. Jill says, you just give it to them to boost their health and well-being. It's something people keep on hand for just in case. That's the critical care. Okay. But usually some vitamin B, infant vitamins with iron, or VitRx is all I have needed. Well, there you go. Good suggestions, Jill. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Maria says, almost 3 a.m. here. Wow, it's like almost 8 o'clock here in the evening. Brody says, hi, got my first 4 quail yesterday. Finally told you it was one of my spring projects. I do remember that. How long do they need to adjust to their new home before they start laying eggs again? Probably about 2 weeks. As long as you're not moving them around a lot, it only takes a couple of weeks. Assuming you've got the right amount of light. Again, 14 hours a day of light, so put an external light on there if you don't have one already. Bump that daylight up a little, or the hours of light up a little bit. Because right now, if you're in North America anyway, your light's probably not 14 hours a day yet. I will say, you may not need it. I don't know. I've got 2 hutches out there. One of them has a light on it. The other one doesn't. The one without the light had just started laying. I'm getting like a couple of eggs a day out of that hutch. And I've got, 6 or 7 hens. So I usually get 2 to 3 eggs a day out of that hutch. So your birds may start laying without an extra light. But as far as calming down from the move, a week and a half, 2 weeks, probably they should be back into it. All right. Judy says, also love your videos. Often rewatch the gardening and the quail. My quail are hatching now, and I got a hoverbaiter with an egg turner. Awesome. Thank you for watching the videos. I'm glad to hear that you like those. Oh, Rahman, this is a good question. It says, what's with the double chin on the does? Yeah, it's called a dewlap. It, I don't, I mean, you'll have to ask God when you meet him why he created them that way. That's just the way he did. But that is where they will pull the fur from when they have babies. They'll pull the fur from their dewlap and line their nest with it. There's probably other purposes for it, but that's it. All right, Katrina says, can you recommend a solar light that has a programmable timer? If not, are you planning on getting another order of the ones that you made? Put me on the list if you are. Well, thank you, Katrina. I don't know of another one on the market. That's why I went ahead and had one created, because I couldn't find one. I did see there was one that was a programmable solar light. I don't remember what it was called, but it was made for like chicken houses and stuff. It was much like a larger scale, and it was incredibly expensive. So, excuse me, I haven't tested that out. The best I've found is I found solar shed lights at Harbor Freight, about $20 a piece, and they have a photo sensor on them, so they just come automatically. They come on automatically when the sun goes down. It's hard to find solar lights that aren't motion activated, and I don't want motion activated. I don't want them to just activate when they see motion. I want them to come on at a certain time and go off at a certain time. But I couldn't find any. I don't know of any programmable solar lights out there except for the ones that I had developed. Now, whether I'll order another batch of them or not, I don't know. It's really difficult. I mean, they're not. I wasn't able to get the Kickstarters funded to make a big order of them and really get them going. So that tells me that there may not be as big of a market for it. So I don't know. I may have a few extras out of this order when it comes in, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. And if I do, then I'll probably offer them up for sale so I can get them out to another couple of people. We'll see. You'll just have to stay tuned. I'll let you know as soon as I find out more. All right, Mike says, thanks, Chris. Can I wait? I can't wait to tell the kids that we can put Christmas lights on the hutch. Thanks again, Big Mike and the family from Long Island. Yeah, let me know how it's working for you, too. I'd be glad to hear it. All right, Jill says, some have done line breeding to bring out flaws so they can eliminate any carriers of genetic problems. Yeah, that's a good point, too. Line breeding is actually used for a lot of things. It's either to accentuate good traits, which is probably the most common, or to, like you said, eliminate some bad traits. You just, again, the key is cull hard when you're line breeding. Really be picky. Lost Koppel says a flagpole light would work. Yeah, I suppose it would. We know his voice says, turn to Jesus Christ, people, he died for your sins. Okay, that's, I am a Christian too. I agree with you, but it's not really the place for it. Gingerbeard says, has anyone in that sounds bad, doesn't it? Not really the place for it. It's just, it's out of context. It's, anyway, you get what I'm saying. I'm not offended by it. I am a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. He is my Savior, but it's not, again, not the place to do that right now. Gingerbeard says, anyone in the chat used Rex for meat rabbits? I've been looking into some kind of change up in my line a bit. Any thoughts or insight? Yeah, standard Rex make good meat rabbits. There's no reason you shouldn't. Standard, there's a mini Rex and a standard Rex. But yeah, standard Rex will be fine. Charles, hi Chris, how many 50-pound bags of chicken feed do you get those chickens you got to butcher weight? Usually about 2 to 3. Usually it's about 2.5, something like that. It doesn't take a lot. I've only got 20 chickens, so there's not a lot of chickens there either. Forrest says I'm using 30%. That should be fine. John Rice says after 7 generations, the rabbits will be 98% genetically like their sire. Well, that's a good point, John. All right, Katrina says Gilroy, California, USDA 9B. Okay. I forgot what we were talking about. I know I asked. I don't know where you're at, but there was a couple of people. So I'm not sure where to go with that. I'm sorry. John says, I have a friend that has a mini Rex buck for meat breeding. Mini Rex, huh? That doesn't seem like a great idea, but I don't know. Maybe it works. All right, Brody says, also, you love your videos and live stream, Chris. Thank you for taking your time to make the content. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. All right. Sarah says, I like your channel. Well, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that, too. Ed Got Bait says, on the coop, the side that is totally enclosed, does there need to be a vent or two, or is the door opening good enough? Yeah, I don't have an extra vent in there. I mean, there is the hole where they can, get from one side to the other. The top is really not airtight. So I don't have any issues with it at all. I'm assuming what you're talking about is like so you don't have problems with like odors and things like that building up in there. But honestly, their droppings stay dry, and as long as they stay dry, there really isn't a bad problem with smell or odors or fumes or any of those kinds of things. It's never been an issue for me. I think it works well. All right. Ramen says, thank you for all the tips, Chris. Wish you all the best. Hope to see you again soon. Thanks. I hope to see you back here again soon. And Brody says, I use Rex for meat rabbit. Great, but grow a little slow. Well, there you go. And also, it's 6 a.m. there. Good grief. You got up early, huh? I just wanted to join the live stream. Well, thank you for getting up early and joining the live stream with us. All right, I got to wrap this up for tonight. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I'm going to not shut down, but hide the chat there because I'll get distracted by it and keep talking. But time for me to close this one out, go spend a little bit of time with the family before it's time to go to bed. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. Always look forward to this every week. Hopefully we'll be back next week, barring any kind of issues. I will tell you guys, if I'm a little bit non-responsive for a couple of days or a week, we bought new flooring for the house, and I'm going to be installing it myself. It's vinyl plank, click-together flooring. Not terribly difficult to install, but it is going to be a little bit time-consuming. I just didn't want to pay another couple $1,000s to have somebody install it. So I'm going to be doing it myself. I may be a little bit busy. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, thanks again for joining, guys. I appreciate it. As always, God bless. Hopefully we see you guys again.